The first floors of the old world. They are buried under your feet. Millions of tons of dirt. The 19th century was swallowed up. History calls this the cultural layer. Mathematics proves it. It was a global cover-up. They didn't build these cities. They dug them up. Welcome to the Titan Metrics channel. Let's begin.
Look down. The next time you walk through the historic district of your city, stop looking at the rooftops. Look at the ground. There is an anomaly hiding in plain sight, built directly into the concrete beneath your feet. A physical impossibility that we walk past every single day, completely blind to its implications. Look at the buildings constructed before 1900. Look at the street level. What do you see? You see windows. Half windows. Windows looking directly into the dirt, chopped in half by the modern pavement. You see grand, ornate stone arches, inexplicably cut off at the knees by the sidewalk. Basement levels clearly designed as ground floor entrances, complete with intricate stonework. No sane architect would ever design them to be buried in the dark. The official historical narrative has a term for this. They call it the cultural layer. They tell us that over hundreds of years, cities naturally accumulate dirt, horse manure, debris, causing the street levels to slowly rise, or they claim the streets were intentionally raised to install modern plumbing. But at Titan Metrics, we do not accept the narrative. We audit the data. And the data for the cultural layer hypothesis presents a massive mathematical deficit. Welcome to the excavation anomaly. Did our ancestors build these massive stone structures half underground, or did they simply dig them out?
Let us examine the most famous example used to explain away buried buildings, the razing of Chicago. According to mainstream history, during the 1850s and 60s, the city realized its elevation was too low. The official story claims that engineers physically lifted entire blocks of multi-story brick and stone buildings using thousands of jack screws, and then brought in millions of tons of earth to raise the street level by 4 to 14 feet. It sounds like a triumph of 19th century engineering, but let us apply basic logistics to this claim. Let us do the math. To raise the streets of a single standard city block by just 6 feet, you require approximately 15,000 cubic yards of packed dirt. In the 1850s, the internal combustion engine did not exist. There were no dump trucks, no hydraulic excavators. The primary mechanism for moving earth was a man with a shovel and a horse pulling a wooden cart. A standard 19th century horse-drawn wagon can carry, at maximum, 1 cubic yard of wet earth. That equates to 15,000 wagon trips for a single city block. Now, multiply that by an entire city. Where did millions of cubic yards of dirt come from? Where are the massive regional quarries? Where is the logistical paper trail? Where were the horses? A logistical operation of this magnitude would require a supply chain so vast it would paralyze the city's actual economy. The animal feed, the waste, the traffic congestion of millions of wagon trips on unpaved roads. It presents an impossible equation. And Chicago is not an isolated incident. We are told Seattle raised its streets, Atlanta built over its old streets, London, Paris, Boston, New York, all experienced variations of massive topographical alterations during the exact same time period. Are we to believe that every major global city independently decided to undertake mathematically impossible earth-moving projects using horse and buggy technology, simultaneously burying the first floors of their most expensive real estate? Or is there a more logical, yet terrifying explanation?
When we investigate the mid-19th century, we find ourselves at the dawn of photography. The 1840s and 50s provide us with the first objective visual records of our cities, and these early photographs reveal a chilling silence. We have thousands of photographs of these magnificent old-world buildings, massive neoclassical post offices, sprawling courthouses, intricately carved asylums. But what we do not have are photographs of their construction. Where are the foundation trenches? Where are the armies of laborers laying the massive subterranean stone blocks? Where are the blueprints that specify burying 10-foot windows 6 feet under the mud? They do not exist. Instead, when we look closely at the earliest available photography of these structures, we see something entirely different. We do not see construction, we see excavation. Look at the archival images. You will frequently see massive, pristine stone buildings surrounded by chaotic, unpaved streets made of deep, thick mud. You will see laborers with shovels working around the base of these buildings. They are not laying bricks. They are digging the buildings out of the earth. Why would a Victorian architect design a magnificent carved stone doorway only to have it open directly into a wall of dirt? Why install full-sized glass windows in a basement only to build brick light wells around them so a tiny fraction of sunlight could reach the bottom? The logical conclusion violates everything we have been taught. The architects did not design these buildings to be underground. The ground level changed after the buildings were already there. The buildings are older than the narrative claims, and the dirt surrounding them is the evidence of an event that history has meticulously scrubbed from the records.
If this was a localized issue, a bad urban planning decision in Chicago, or a flooded river in Paris, the official story might hold weight. But the anomaly is global. Let us look at the geographical distribution of this architectural impossibility. We find it in the massive neoclassical banks of New York. We find it in the sprawling post offices of Melbourne, Australia. We find it in the winter palaces of St. Petersburg and the administrative buildings of Buenos Aires.
The exact same architectural impossibilities exist across continents separated by oceans. Mainstream historians ask us to believe in a staggering statistical coincidence. They ask us to believe that architects in Russia, Australia, South America, and the United States, men who had no telephone communication, no internet, and spoke completely different languages, all simultaneously decided to build magnificent, intricate first floors, and then voluntarily bury them. Identical buildings, identical buried first floors, happening in the exact same time frame, globally. A localized flood or a municipal street racing project cannot explain a worldwide architectural consensus. You do not spend millions of dollars and thousands of man-hours carving ornate stonework just to hide it in the dirt. It defies logic. It defies economics. It defies the very nature of human effort.
This brings us to the event itself. The event they meticulously erased from our textbooks. An event, or a series of rapid, catastrophic events, occurred just prior to the dawn of the photographic era. A massive global reset. Look at the physical evidence of the soil itself. When true archaeologists excavate ancient sites, they find stratigraphy, distinct layers of human occupation, trash, ash, pottery, the slow, gradual buildup of time. But the dirt packed against these 19th century buildings does not show gradual accumulation. It is homogeneous. It is dense. It is a single massive deposit. It bears all the physical hallmarks of sudden soil liquefaction, immense, violent flooding, or massive atmospheric fallout. Imagine the sheer kinetic energy required to move millions of tons of mud into the streets of every major city on Earth, to bury the first floors of stone cathedrals and capitals under 10 to 15 feet of packed earth in a matter of days or weeks. The old world was not slowly built over. It was smothered instantly. And the architects of our modern timeline, the ones who wrote the history books, they didn't clean it up. They simply paved over the damage.
And this is where the data from our previous audits finally converges. Think back. Remember the population anomaly we uncovered in the 1850s? The 250,000 undocumented orphans transported on trains. The industrial baby incubators disguised as carnival attractions at the world's fairs. We asked why. Now look at the mud in the streets. Look at the buried buildings. We have our answer. When this new manufactured population, the orphans, the resettled adults with no past, the blank slates, when they arrived in these grand, silent, half-buried cities, they didn't build them. They were the cleanup crew. They found them and they dug them out. They were handed shovels and told to clear the streets. They took the second-floor windows and turned them into street-level front doors. They converted flooded, mud-filled ground floors into dark, damp basements. They claimed the surviving architecture as their own, and their overseers assigned arbitrary, impossible construction dates to buildings that 19th century horse carts could not even supply the stones for. The history we are taught in our schools, the history defended by modern academics, is the history of the excavation, not the construction. The timeline is broken. The architecture proves it. The earth itself proves it. We are living in an inherited asylum, walking on the rooftops of a buried empire. Stop accepting the narrative. Start looking at the metrics. Subscribe to Titan Metrics because the audit has only just begun.